Ladies and gentlemen, Roster Watch Nation, welcome back to the epic Roster Watch podcast brought to you by RosterWatch.com. I'm Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier as we are getting ready to head off to Indianapolis for our 13th straight trip to the Combine for all of Roster Watch Nation. I see Cody has a flashing ticker underneath us. If you're watching on YouTube, certainly happy to have you guys here. If you could please like the show, subscribe to the channel. We would definitely appreciate that. If you're listening on the podcast feed, we really would appreciate a 5-star rating. We're going to have a bunch of content coming out over the course of the next week, of course, from there in Indy. But we figured it'd be fun to hop on today before we get into the weekend and getting all our affairs in order to get out on Monday. We'll be there basically through Monday through Sunday. Figure we just kind of do a little combine preview. What do you think, Cody?
I'm excited, dude. I just got done working on this combine thing for the receivers. The thing we, you and Mike Band, maybe you said Mike Band created it, but I kind of brought it back to life last year.
Yeah, Mike Band created the sheet, but right.
So we've been doing that. You guys created the process, and I kind of brought it back to life a little bit last year, and that was when Charlie effing football was birthed. And I was just looking back at some of the results from last year, and it was like Tank Dell, Puka Nacua, Josh Downs. That was the top 3 outside of Charlie Jones. So I'm excited this year to see, what receiver jumps up on the top of that list. And when we're sitting down there at Lucas Oil,
the on-field charting stuff. I think did I do that last year? I think I did.
I did it.
Okay.
I just did it, and then I was like sitting right next to you, and I was asking you like, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" Yeah. And we kind of adjusted and stuff like that. So,
well, I'll just say, one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing there, as far as the on-field drills, 2 guys as far as on-field drills that really excite me. One is Adonai Mitchell from Texas. Clearly, you guys know we're focused on Texas for sure, doing some stuff for Orange Bloods, and also just being close to the program here in Central Texas. But Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, both these guys have some real storylines around them. But Adonai in particular, I'm not sure how well he's going to test, Cody. I don't know if you have any kind of takes about Adonai Mitchell's testing this week. To me, he's never seemed like a super toolsy kind of guy as far as his attributes, as far as his general long speed, acceleration, explosiveness. Where Adonai Mitchell wins is the way he sets things up with his stems, his footwork at his route's transition point. And most importantly, we saw this year as Quinn Ewers was kind of developing a relationship with him, because remember, Adonai Mitchell had only been at Texas for the 1 season, right? Coming over from Georgia as a transfer. So as those two were getting on the same page, we really saw his ability to track the football with these deep ball situations, frame the football, really address the football in the way of a truly just, soft-handed, gifted wide receiver. And I think just in the context of the combine, wherever these guys are going to be catching footballs from dudes who they don't know from Adam. And we've seen that, it's a good group of quarterbacks this year, but we don't know who's going to throw. I guess that's probably another topic we can discuss. But, sometimes, especially on the deep, on the go route, and on the out and up, and on some of these, I think Adonai is going to be able to show an ability off that, like Daniel Jeremiah up in the booth is going to say, like, oh, well, will the real world applicability of what we just saw there is his ability to, track the football, to adjust to it in space and all the rest. I'm looking forward to watching Adonai on field, because he's really gifted at just kind of playing the game, although I don't know how well he's going to test. The other guy that's just interesting to me from the on-field perspective is Ladd McConkey, who you continue to rate so disrespectfully. I think
Dude, you and I are just gonna, depth of the class, man. It's the depth of the class.
Yeah, it's just, but Ladd to me was, I thought, the best route runner at the Senior Bowl. And generally, when I think a guy's the best route runner at the Senior Bowl, that turns out to usually be a pretty good player. So I want to see more out of him. I want to see his routes, how he looks, getting in and out of his cuts versus the rest of these guys. I just noticed such an economy of motion whenever we would see him in those drills at the Senior Bowl. But seeing him, I think it's a little bit different. No offense to the Senior Bowl guys, because they were clearly some of the best. Roman Wilson, all these guys. And to say that I thought that Ladd was a better route runner than Roman Wilson is really, really saying something, because Roman Wilson from Michigan was awesome in that regard too. But Ladd McConkey just seems to have a burst in and out of his cuts. And like I said, the lack of wasted motion that really makes me think that he's going to thrive in an on-field setting. And I'm excited to see it. I'm also excited to see what he runs. I mean, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if he's sub 4.4. He's got a lot of juice. I think that would help him out a lot.
I'm excited. I think Lad McConkey is going to be an interesting one. We saw the route running already come to fruition, so it wouldn't shock me if he's aces all of the on-field route running, and kind of like Charlie Jones did last year. The one at receiver I'm looking forward to most, I guess, is Troy Franklin. He just I don't know what it is really about him. It's the total package. I know he had the drops this year at Oregon, and that's going to be one thing. If he starts, led the country in drops with 9. If he starts dropping footballs, Lucas Oil with no defenders in the open field and drops a couple balls in the gauntlet, I'm going to be upset. Quentin Johnston type of situation. Like I don't want that. I can go back to last year's and there's some guys on this list that I came in high on. Jalen Hyatt didn't have a great day last year during that. Jonathan Mingo didn't have a great process go through. A.T. Perry was a guy that, he ended up getting drafted, but he didn't have a great gauntlet, didn't have a great route process. So I think Troy Franklin's a guy that has boom bust ability in these workouts. And I'm hoping he ends up in the top 6, top 7 when we get done grading through here, because he's a guy at 6'3", 187 pounds. I've talked about it. He's an outlier with that Marquess Wilson body type. Marquess Wilson, the only from the Chicago Bears, was the only player drafted with that body type. That was in the 7th round, I think about 2013 or 2017 by the Bears. So
can you explain that body type for people who might not know who Troy Franklin is?
6'3", 187 pounds. It's just a very abnormal build. Normally, those guys that are about 187 are closer to 6 foot, 5'11". You can think of Devonta Smith, who was 6 foot. He was a little bit slimmer, 170. But that's usually what that build comes with. And for me, the reason I bring up Devonta Smith is because it's kind of like an extrapolated Devonta Smith, being 6 foot, 170 up to now 6'3", 187 for Troy Franklin. Troy Franklin, we're going to see him in just a week. And this guy in interviews and on the field, he looks like he's got muscles. He's got traps. He's got quads. He's got calves. He's got biceps. He's got muscles in spots that these other slimmer receivers don't have. And another guy, I guess, in that same body type is like a Jerome Simpson. These guys are longer and taller than their body types are perceived to be able to accept.
Yeah. So Franklin, as far as your on-field stuff, now as far as just how you think dudes are going to test, right? So another Texas guy is Xavier Worthy, but I think it's important to have the Worthy conversation. He's being taken usually in the 2nd round of dynasty rookie drafts. Sometimes if it's non-super flex, you'll see him go with the 1-2 turn of these early ones. I still can't believe that in Debbie last year I took Xavier Worthy over Malik Neighbors. It's gonna haunt me till my dying day that I did that, because what you're seeing now is there's not a consensus right now on Xavier Worthy. And we've seen that because Lance Zierlein came out with his rankings pre-combine. He has Worthy at wide receiver 17, behind some dudes who I thought are I wouldn't even put them in the same ballpark as Worthy. I think Worthy's more of a top 5 kind of player in this class, top 5, top 7, just because the electric speed that he brings. The fastest player on any football field last year, right? NFL or college football. What was it? 22.7 or 23.7 miles per hour on that who was that versus? Was it
punt return against Iowa State
game? Yep. But here's the thing: fast guys run fast, right?
Yeah.
And the scouts are going to always say fast guys run fast. They're not going to double count it if he goes there and he runs a 4.33, a 4.3, 4, something like that. I kind of think he needs to. I do think he has the ability to go sub 4.3. And if he goes sub 4.3, he does the unthinkable. He goes nuclear. We get some kind of 4.27, 4.26, even 4.28. It's just, I was talking to Anwar about this earlier today. It's like there's that psychological barrier right there at 4.3, right? It begins to become sort of unthinkable. It begins to become Henry Ruggs or John Ross, this type of stuff. And when we see that kind of speed gets you taken in the 1st round. And so it could really help Xavier Worthy from a draft capital perspective if he was able to do that. I was looking at the odds earlier today, and I don't know if you know the name of the Miami wide receiver that transferred in from Louisville. gosh, I forget his name. He wasn't that big of a contributor this year for Miami. I'll see if I can pull it up or just look at the combine list and it'll jog my memory. Let me just look. This is going to kill me to not know this. Let me just see. He's from Miami. So what day are they doing? They're going. I'm just looking here.
He's not on the combine list. There's no receiver in the combine list.
Well, maybe I'm getting it wrong then. He was let me just see. So combine. I was looking at the fastest 40 times earlier, so maybe this is let's see. Let me just look. So as far as the betting lines, Miami, Florida wide receiver Tyler Harrell. Okay, it says on the top. Okay, so it says on the top here at Caesars, note, players aren't guaranteed to participate in the 2024 NFL scouting.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say I don't see him on the list.
So, all right. So Ben, look, is Georgia wide receiver Arian Smith on this on the combine list?
No.
Okay. What about Jackson State cornerback DeJohn Warren?
That is a negative.
Okay, we know Xavier Legette's going to be there.
Correct.
And we know Worthy's going to be there.
Is Wiggins on that list? Nate Wiggins from Clemson?
No.
Okay.
Let me see.
There was rumors about him 2 weeks ago having run. This came out from one of the people working out with him that said that his God, what was the phrasing on it? When they started running their 40s, so his baseline 40 was in the 4.2s. But they didn't give a number. It was just his baseline 40 was in the 4.2s.
We need to keep that in mind for whenever these props start coming out, right?
And this is just a key also. Last year, the props for the NFL Combine came out on Monday of Combine week at about 2 p.m. Eastern time. So that was at Prize Pick. So I'm assuming they're going to be around that time. So Sunday night, Monday morning, Monday sometime we'll be in Indianapolis, and we'll probably tweet out. We'll probably tweet out a couple of our favorite ones.
Yeah, for sure. Oh gosh, that was great. That's been so great these last couple of years too. This has been a real boon for the old wallet. So if you just take those guys out that the sports books had, the Georgia wide receiver Tyler Harrell from Miami, who's not going to be there. It looks like the books are now going to have Xavier Legette versus Xavier Worthy for the two fastest guys, even though if they had them going versus Harrell, they had him at minus 250 and Legette and Worthy at plus 2,000. I think that they see both those guys as being 4.3-ish dudes. And just with Legette, I think he's an interesting conversation to be had too. What do you think about Xavier Legette coming into this week? Like, what can he prove to you after having a disappointing showing to start at the Senior Bowl? Got a little bit better through the week. I mean, he's one of these guys that we can at least say better through the week at least. And that means something. But dude, he's like 6'2", 220 something pounds. If he comes and runs a 4.3, I mean, people are gonna, the analytics crowd's gonna freak out over it. He gets that thing verified. I mean, I kind of freak. That's a big dude moving very, very, very fast. The only concern is the late breakout, the fact that he didn't do anything for his first. He didn't do anything until his final season. I just
610.
And what's his weight? 223 or something?
223. Yeah, 223.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know, man. I think that that's a big BMI dude moving really.
Yeah. If you AJ Brown.
If you were standing in front of him and he was wearing his pads and he was running that speed and you weren't wearing pads, he would probably kill you. It's like that's a lot of force. So I'll be interested. Like, can he do anything for you to help you move him up, or at least get him in a different tier as far as your rankings?
Yeah, he can bump up. Again, I mean the conversation was the DK Metcalf conversation, and the speed's there for the DK Metcalf conversation, but the size is more AJ Brown. And AJ Brown, I think, ran a 4.46 if my recollection's right. So if Legette runs 4.39, 4.40, 4.41, that'll tell us he's healthy.
I think this is question. I think the books are telling us it's going to be faster than that.
I'm not buying that. If I see it, I'll
say, what if he does? What if he runs a 4.32?
Dude, but listen, 4.39 at 225 pounds and 6'1" is ungodly. So if he does run a 4.33, a 4.34, like Yeah, there's a big conversation to be had right there. And if he can put it on the field, if he can go out there and he can run routes and he can finish, somewhere in the 60th percentile of ranking, which is top 15 on the grades, and he doesn't make bad drops. And it's harder now because we saw him not separate the Senior Bowl, so we can't really compare like what's he look like now versus then in that context of separation against DBs. But what we can do is we can just critique his his fluidity and things of that nature while he's on the field. And the three cone, I think, will be important for a guy like that. And it's just movement skills and things of that nature. And we'll also ask him those questions about what happened at the Senior Bowl. And maybe not what happened at the Senior Bowl, but more so,
Like, what do you
how's
mean,
your
what
health been? How's your health been over the course of the last year? And what do you allude to your success? So things of that nature, like you can kind of poke and prod and figure out kind of how he feels about his process as well.
Yeah, but I find it very, very interesting that he has the same odds to be the fastest man at the whole combine as Xavier Worthy.
Can I ask you this quick? Can I ask you a straight up question? Last year we had this conversation about Jalen Hyatt. Okay, and Jalen Hyatt ran a 10.4.600 going out of high school. I understand Worthy ran 10.5.5 as a sophomore, didn't run it as he went into Texas. The rumors and thoughts are that he probably runs in the 10.4s, and he's kind of, to me, a long strider and more of a length runner, more of like the 100 meter, more of like the 60, maybe 60 yards. I'm not, and again, this is a straight up question. You've seen more 40-yard dashes live than I have. Do you think potentially there's a potential for Worthy to maybe disappoint in the 40-yard conversation?
Yeah,
I understand he's fast, but I think maybe he's a little better in the little bit longer stuff. So maybe his speed really doesn't pick up 20 to 40.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like he's gonna have nobody cares about the flying 20, but like he'll have the highest flying 20 of any. So the flying 20 is your last 20 yards, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think he's got good 0 to 60 speed too, man. There are plays where you can see his acceleration, certainly on the bubble screens and stuff like that. His ability to just scamper up the side. I mean, he goes into warp speed really fast, man. So, could he for a dude who's going to disappoint if he's higher than 4.4? I mean, that's just like, there's obviously a way that he could disappoint for sure. But I do think he'll be a little bit faster than that. I think Worthy's going to need to go nuclear with something sub 4.3 to be able to get to where, all right, people are in their dynasty rookie drafts, and after Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze come off the board, to where you start thinking about, man, should I be taking Worthy over Troy Franklin, or should I be taking him over, I think some people are going to have Ladd McConkey and Brian Thomas and those guys up there. I know that you don't, but some people really love Brian Thomas. I think that's what it's going to take because I think that what's going to happen is if it's sub 4.3 for Xavier Worthy from Texas, that's going to lead to people anticipating first round draft capital.
I would say that makes sense. I will say you talked about kind of mock landing spot / ADP. I've been doing these mock shows over on X. You can go check those out. Those are X exclusive, but I also did one at Fantasy Pros. So I have a little bit of ADP data as far as that goes for Superflex. And Worthy's spot has been 111, 110, 204, 201, and then 112. And like you mentioned, he's kind of right in between there of Brian Thomas, Adonai, and Ladd McConkey, actually 202, 205. So he's kind of in the same ballpark right there as far as some of those other wide receivers. Adonai Mitchell's got a couple of 110s. He's gotten up into round one as well in these rookie drafts. You can go check those out over on the RosterWatch Twitter, though.
As far as one more wide receiver, and we're going to have tons more of this stuff, and we'll talk about a few running backs and quarterbacks here. Just one more wide receiver, just quickly, is Jacob Cowing from Arizona. He was carted off the field on the last practice. Sadly, the last practice there in Mobile. I wouldn't say that he was having a really dominant week or anything like that, but we got to talk to him and stuff. Really, really nice guy. Loved a lot of the aspects of what he was able to put on film, and getting to watch him more. he's a good. We talked about Tank Dell earlier. He has a play style that reminds you a little bit of a Tank Dell. We need to find out what's going on with that, because clearly if it's something where he's he tore something or did something weird, there's just been zero reporting. I literally
Yep.
I'm such a degenerate that I check Twitter every day for the Jacob Cowing's names to see if I can get the information. So we're just gonna have to wait till the combine to get the information about Cowing, because he was somebody that I was loving the opportunity to possibly get. Or the anticipation of possibly getting in some of my dynasty leagues that draft after the combine, maybe being able to get him in the third round of rookie drafts. So that's information that we're gonna have to get for you guys too. Cody, is there anything at running back specifically that you're super interested in?
So I just did the write up on Jalen Wright, and that video is going to come out this afternoon on the
He's
Roster Watch
from Tennessee, and he
YouTube account.
did he
Yeah,
did he
I'll go
opt
through
out
him
of
real
the
quick.
did he opt out
Yeah,
of the
he got hurt. He got
okay.
hurt. He got hurt. He's from Tennessee. He's about 5'11", 205, and this is his first full year playing running back at Tennessee, or being the starter. Played with Jabari Small, who's also in the draft class, and went to the Shrine Bowl. But Jalen Wright was supposed to go to the Senior Bowl, and the write up on him, there's some people that have him as RB1. Matty Kiwum kind of stamped his flag or whatever the hell, put the flag in the ground on Jalen Wright as RB1. I'm not there.
Matty
This guy's got
his RB1.
Yeah, and I'm not all the way there, and I've told him that, but this is part of the combine process. Is he's going to see what the testing looks like. I think he's a little bit of a one-trick pony, and this one trick happens to be something that's going to be seen on national television next Friday night. There's rumors that he's going to run 4.35. So if it's running back, 5'11", 205, good build, runs 4.35. It's going to be into the conversation in a class that doesn't have a guarantee, a Saquon, a Bijan. There's no pure number one. So there's going to be people coming out of the woodworks as soon as this kid runs anything south of 4.40.
Yeah, and Maddie's just trying to get out in front of it and say that he was on it first. To me, it's going to be hard to get anybody over Jonathan Brooks, and that's just not the Texas stuff coming out from. Like he would have won the Doak Walker Award had he stayed healthy. I think that one of the things that we'll ask him about is just how what now. He's like, so he got hurt at the beginning of November, so November, December to January to early February to we're coming 5 months. So he should be walking around, right? He'll probably have a brace on, but he shouldn't be on crutches and stuff anymore.
He should be.
You know what I mean? So we'll kind of see how he's looking, how he's moving. And I mentioned it before. We mentioned it before on here, but Jay Brooks, man, what was it? We heard that it was the Dallas Cowboys surgeon that did that thing. Dallas has a pick right there at the end of the second round, man. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying the only running back on contract for those guys is Deuce Vaughn coming into next year. So I'm interested as far as the running backs to see what Brooks has to say about his injury, and also just see kind of where he is. Hopefully he's not on crutches or rolling around on one of those what's that thing they roll up on where they kind of they put their leg up on it with their knee down and stuff, and they kind of, it's like a roller thing.
The classic Achilles scooter.
Yeah, you're down. It's just the down bad scooter, right? What else? Anything else at running back, quarterback, anything before we get out of here?
I think last one is just my guy I have at running back 1 right now going into the combine is Braylon Allen. This guy supposed to be 235, 245 body weight. Last year this is on Feldman's Freaks list. They had him at a 149 10-yard split at 245 pounds. He had a 406 pound power clean. And this is, he just turned 20 years old. So this is a guy that should test very well. And that's going to be built into the process. If he comes in and runs some maybe 4.6, I'm going to be a little upset because that's at times his open field running looks like a 4.6, but he also has the ability to house a ball from 96 yards out. So I want to see Braylon Allen come in, maybe weigh 233, 234, 235, and run like a 4.44, 4.46, somewhere in there. And that would keep him as my RB1. I
mean, he won't be my RB1. I saw your write up. I know you had him compared to Todd Gurley. I was just like, dude, this guy. I had to add in some other comps. I was like, Todd Gurley, also Eddie Lacy, also Jeremy Hill. It's like I think that there's a wide range of outcomes for where that guy could be. But you've heard he's going to run. Have you heard what he's thinking he's going to run? Like,
I don't think he's going to run. People said he's going to run low 4.4s. I don't think he's going to run low 4.4s. I think he's going to run 4.4. I think my projection was 4.50.
Yeah,
so I'd be happy with that.
Even if he runs a 4.55, it'll be fine. It's like his
speed score is going to be 95th percentile if he runs a 4.50.
Yeah, and then you go ahead and size adjust that, and woo! Next thing you know, man, now you're cooking with peanut oil.
Yeah.